Welcome back, everyone. Ready to deep dive into some keto veggies. We're going to be produce pros by the end of this, I promise.
Sounds delicious. And good for you, too.
Definitely. Okay, so we've got two articles, one from Atkins and another from Wholesome Yum, plus a visual guide from Diet Doctor.
Oh, and let's not forget that YouTube video from Sugar MD.
Right. That one really dives into the why behind making smart choices, not just, what to eat, but the long-term impact.
Exactly. It's about the bigger picture.
Love it. So let's get back to basics for a minute. Why are some vegetables keto friendly and some are like totally off limits?
It all comes down to net carbs.
Okay, net carbs. So
It's
that's
the total carbohydrates in a food minus the fiber content.
right, because fiber doesn't really affect your blood sugar the same way as other carbs.
Exactly. It's key for staying in ketosis.
So net carbs are important, obviously, but are there other things we should be thinking about when we're choosing our veggies?
Well, the glycemic index plays a role too, even for keto-friendly foods. And of course, you want to consider the nutritional value of the veggies themselves.
Makes sense. It's not just about avoiding carbs, it's about getting those good nutrients. Now, Diet Doctor talks about this above ground versus below ground rule. Most root vegetables seem to be pretty high in carbs. Is there a reason for that?
You know, that above ground rule is actually based in plant biology. Root vegetables store more carbohydrates as energy reserves, to help them survive through the winter. Above ground veggies tend to prioritize other nutrients.
Huh, interesting. So there's a real biological reason behind it, but I'm guessing like all good rules, there are probably some exceptions.
Definitely. Corn, for instance, grows above ground, but packed with carbs.
Ah, good point.
And legumes, beans and lentils, definitely not keto-friendly. They're actually a great example of why just looking at above ground isn't enough because they have a different kind of carb that impacts blood sugar. Gotcha. So we've got our keto veggie fundamentals down. Now let's dive into some of the all-stars. I know cauliflower and zucchini are super versatile, but what are some other keto-friendly veggies that people might not think about?
Asparagus is a great one, incredibly low in carbs.
And so tasty.
Right, it goes really well with rich sauces. Diet Doctor has a fantastic hollandaise recipe, actually.
Oh, perfect timing. I was just looking for a good hollandaise recipe.
You would be amazing on asparagus.
I'm putting that on the menu this week. I was also surprised to see pumpkin on the keto-friendly list.
Yeah, pumpkin can totally work on keto, especially if you're careful with the other ingredients.
Like no sugar in the pumpkin pie.
Exactly. But you can find some great keto-friendly pumpkin recipes online for pies and soups and all kinds of things.
That's awesome. Now let's talk about those tempting root vegetables. I love them, but they can be tricky on keto, right?
They can be. It's all about balance.
Right, like everything else.
Some root vegetables, like radishes and jicama, are actually lower in carbs than others.
So those are good options? Yeah, and even carrots. They're higher in carbs than some other keto veggies, but much lower than potatoes or sweet potatoes, for example.
So a little bit of carrot here and there could work, depending on your carb goals. Now, that Sugar MD video talked a lot about nutrient diversity. They made a really good point about how overly restrictive diets can backfire.
Absolutely. It's so important to get a variety of vitamins and minerals, even on keto. And that's where these veggies really shine.
They do, don't they? So many colors and flavors and textures. It's amazing how many options there are.
And they're not just good for you, they taste incredible.
Exactly. And they make eating keto so much more interesting. I think sometimes people think it's all about meat and cheese.
Right, but there's so much more to it than that.
Definitely. All right, so we've covered the basics of why some veggies are keto-friendly and others aren't. We've talked about some of the all-stars and even how to make root vegetables work on keto. What do you think? Should we move on to some practical tips for making these veggies even more delicious?
Let's do it. I've got some great ideas from our sources.
I'm ready for those tips. I'm always looking for ways to make veggies more exciting.
Well, one of the biggest things is how you cook them.
Ah, yeah. That makes a big difference.
Roasting and sautéing are really the best methods for bringing out the flavor.
I've noticed those are definitely popular in the recipes we've been looking at.
And using healthy fats like olive oil or avocado oil, that's key.
Makes sense. Adds flavor and helps with those good fats on keto.
Exactly. And Wholesome Yum even suggests using bacon fat for sautéing.
Ooh, yeah. I bet that adds a delicious smoky flavor.
It does. And don't forget about sauces and dips. Those can really elevate your veggies.
Yeah, good point. Diet Doctor and Wholesome Yum both have some great keto-friendly dip recipes.
It's a smart way to incorporate more healthy fats into your keto diet. Helps you feel full and satisfied, too.
Double win. I'm all about that. I've also seen a lot of recipes that use a mix of different keto-friendly veggies.
Yeah, combining different veggies is a great way to make things more interesting. Visually appealing, too.
Right, it's not just a pile of green beans on your plate. Plus, you get a wider range of nutrients that way.
Exactly, variety is key.
Wholesome Yum has this recipe for a mixed veggie stir-fry that looks incredible. Broccoli, cauliflower, bell peppers, all sorts of good stuff in there.
Sounds delicious.
It does, right? And I love how veggies don't always have to be a side dish.
Oh, yeah. They can totally be the star of the show.
Cauliflower rice is a perfect example. I mean, cauliflower is like the chameleon of the keto world. You can turn it into practically anything.
It's true. Pizza crust, mashed potatoes, you name it.
I'm waiting for a cauliflower steak recipe to pop up any day now.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. And don't forget about zucchini noodles.
Those are a classic. I make them all the time.
Such a good low-carb swap for pasta.
Oh, and I saw some stuffed bell pepper recipes from Atkins that looked amazing. They used a mix of keto-friendly veggies for the filling.
I love stuffed peppers. You can get so creative with the fillings.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless. And, speaking of creativity, I was really intrigued by the Sugar MD video's discussion of fiber.
Oh, yeah, that was fascinating. They really highlighted how important fiber is for our health.
I knew it was good for digestion, of course, but they talked about some potential benefits that I had never even heard of before.
It's amazing how much we're still learning about fiber. Like the research on its role in gut health is pretty well established, but now they're finding connections to aging and even cognitive function.
Yeah, that's what really caught my attention. They mentioned studies linking high fiber diets to a reduced risk of Alzheimer's disease.
It really makes you think. Maybe something as simple as increasing our fiber intake could have a huge impact on our long-term health.
Right. It's not just about staying in ketosis, it's about giving our bodies the nutrients they need to thrive.
That's a great way to put it. And these keto-friendly veggies are such a great source of fiber.
They really are. So it's like a win-win. We get to enjoy delicious food and potentially protect ourselves against chronic diseases.
Exactly. And it all comes back to making informed choices. If we understand the science behind keto and the incredible nutritional value of these veggies, we can create a way of eating that supports both our short-term and long-term health goals.
I couldn't agree more. So we've talked a lot about the what of keto veggies, but that Sugar MD video, it really got me thinking about the why.
Yeah, it was a good reminder that it's not just about the numbers on the scale, it's about overall health.
Exactly. Like, I knew fiber was good for digestion, but they talked about some pretty amazing potential benefits.
Oh yeah. The research on fiber is constantly evolving.
It's really fascinating. They mentioned studies linking high fiber diets to a reduced risk of Alzheimer's. I mean, that's huge.
It is. It really highlights the connection between what we eat and our long-term health.
Makes you think, right? Like maybe increasing our fiber intake could help protect against other chronic diseases too.
It's definitely possible. And that's why it's so important to focus on whole, nutrient-rich foods, like all these keto-friendly veggies we've been talking about.
Right. So it's not just about staying in ketosis. It's about nourishing our bodies, maybe even preventing some health issues down the road.
Exactly. And it all comes back to making informed choices. When we understand the science behind keto and the power of these veggies, we can create a way of eating that truly supports us.
All right. So let's recap what we've learned today. We started with the basics, like net carbs and that above ground rule from Diet Doctor.
We talked about how even keto-approved veggies can have different glycemic indexes and nutrient profiles.
We covered some of the keto veggie all-stars, like cauliflower and zucchini, and how amazingly versatile they are.
Oh, we can't forget those less obvious picks, like asparagus and pumpkin. Even some root veggies can work on keto if you're mindful about it.
And we dove into the world of fiber, which it turns out is pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah. Gut health, aging, maybe even protecting against chronic diseases. It's definitely a nutrient we want to be paying attention to.
For sure. So what's the one thing you hope listeners will take away from this deep dive?
I hope they feel empowered to explore all the amazing keto-friendly veggies out there. Don't be afraid to get creative in the kitchen. There's so much you can do with these ingredients.
I love that. And I'd add that it's about more than just following a list of rules. It's about understanding the why behind those rules and using that knowledge to make choices that work for you.
That's a great point. And don't forget, there's always more to learn. Keep experimenting, try new recipes, and who knows, maybe you'll discover a new favorite veggie along the way.
Absolutely. And for everyone listening, if you want to keep learning, be sure to check out those articles and videos from Atkins, Wholesome Yum, Diet Doctor, and Sugar MD. They're packed with even more great info and recipe ideas. Until next time, happy veggieing.